Chapter 26. Angie Ann's Request. It was March 2011. One Monday morning, Angie notified all her colleagues that this afternoon, at the ranch, she would tell them the plan she had in mind. In the afternoon, at the ranch, Angie called everyone into the meeting room. Meetings, everyone was waiting for what Angie was going to tell them. Friends, I brought you here to inform you about the plan that I have in mind and have been putting together for the last month, said Angie while holding some papers in her hands. Go ahead. We hear you, little curls, said Gavin. It's okay. The student elections at the school are approaching, according to the last statute written by the late director Yuri Quested. We have the possibility of participating in the student ballot this year, since next year will be our last year and we will not be able to participate, he argued. Angie, what was the idea for? What do we gain by participating? I mean, what would we get if we are victorious and one of us ends up as student president? Gavin asked. A lot, said Angie. Why? Does it justify that? Added Black. You see, I have been investigating. The student president has a good chance of knowing the decisions made by the teaching staff and the directors, tutors and the heads of houses. When there are those types of meetings, they always consult with the student president for an opinion about how a new rule, statute or whatever you want to call it, will affect the student community. It is as if all 449 students have a representative, Angie argued. And you think that we will win? The whole school hates us. We wouldn't have enough votes, said Priscilla. This is based on ideas. They may hate us, but if we promise them good changes and ideas, they will probably want to vote. The candidate must be attractive. You can put a donkey or a potato. That, if it is attractive to the people with its ideas, they will trust you and give you the vote, and whatever happens in power, there is no going back. That's politics, explained Angie. I think they should be presidents of each house, not just one, said Roger. It's impossible. That's what the delegates are for. Only the 11th years can be. It's a way to compensate for the fact that the seniors can't participate in the elections. Next year I would believe that Alex, Danny, Lester, Jones, Leonard, Gabby, Franklin, Mayara, Natty, will elect us as delegates of our house. It is based on academic performance. They also receive questions about the community student, the changes and rules that they want to make, by the faculty council, and help integrate the new first-year students. A man and a woman are chosen. It could be our plan B for next year in case of not winning the elections with the candidate we nominate, explained Angelica. Angie, who do you have in mind as a candidate? Asked Alex. Well, I was thinking about myself, but I think it would be dangerous, in the same way if we nominate to Gavin, Daniel, Alessio, Bastian, and of course the other heroes. I think it must be someone with a slightly lower profile, said Angie. Are there more positions? Asked Liza. Of course, there is the president, and 6 members of the school president's executive committee, Angie explained, showing one of the papers she had in her hands. Who is the current president? Mariah asked. Jimmy Gilmore Baines. Scarlet Eagles, won the year in the past. He won the candidacy against a boy from the Blue Falcons. I don't remember his name, said Angie, showing the second clipping of a paper from the school newspaper. Jimmy Gilmore Baines? And who is he? Angelica asked. Yes, who is Gilmore? Ha, 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 asked Leanne, laughing. A low-profile boy, but he is known for playing on the Fudblaze team. He is brilliant in the lessons of different courses, said Angie. I think he could be someone from the Fudblaze team. They are famous like Josh, Oscar, Leisha and Aaron, for example, or with academic excellence like Danny, Alex, Lester, for example. The problem is that everyone believes in the nonsense of the first sin about us. Louis burst in, raising his voice. I think I have the candidates, but listen. You must follow the instructions that we will give you, and do everything we tell you. Only then will we achieve an excellent strategy, Angie said as she put down another sheet of paper. Paper on a table. Who do you have in mind? Emily asked curiously. Alex, you will be the president, after Black, me and Gavin. You are the one with the best leadership here. And the 6 members of the committee student executive will be Liza, Nick, Aaron, Teffa, Gloria and Danny. People with great knowledge, intelligent. To that we must add the ideas that I will pass on to them so that they can convince the other students, said Angie. Really? Angie, are you crazy? Alex shouted. Calm down. Remember that she said she would give us a script. Don't get upset. This will be a piece of cake. I want to see the faces of the first-year children when we tell them about the ideas. And fall flat, added Liza. Count me in, Angie, said Danny. Me too. We will do it, said Nick and Teffa respectively, raising their hands. With me in the same way, said with her soft voice, Gloria, a short, thick girl, with straight black hair. Freckles on her cheeks. She was the person in charge of accounting for the ranch's expense money. I just have one question. Aaron interrupted, raising his hand and added. What are we supposed to do if we win? Well, that is Alex's job, and it is very simple. He will be our Trojan horse in the Teachers' Council. There we would find out about the teachers' plans. But not only that, their academic issues are discussed with the Lunesk station and the city council. So we could know what the witch is up to with the ideas promoted by the members of the city council, the patriarch and the Lunesk station. We would also know if the witch already has power over the patriarch, and most importantly, know the intentions as director of Professor Silvana. But also, as Percy mentioned to the kids in the park the previous year, the town of Pizcet has money and gold in its city hall vaults. It is something that we must pay attention to. Any movement on that is a clue of the prophecy. Remember that if that money is looted, the ruin that the prophecy talks about would begin. And we would also know the identity of the witch. Angie mentioned. Aaron raised his thumb and agreed to help the cause, and said, when do we start? First, I will be in charge of preparing the document in a letter to deliver to the director, to nominate the candidates. Followed by that, we will make the plan to attract votes with the students from the first year until the 9th and 11th year. The Scarlet Eagles will also nominate their candidate. That's for sure. It will be a new battle against them, but at the polls, the rest of us will attract them with the proposals that I have in mind, said Angie. And what are they? Oscar asked. Will it be things that everyone likes? Improvements to the cafeteria menu, improvements to the Fudblaze Stadium, improvements to the Green Forest trails, tax on chewing gum. For those complainers who say no, they like to share it in the classrooms and recesses, so they can charge a monetary value, things like that. I think the other departments do not need improvements. Furthermore, this is what draws the students' attention, and I am sure that these ideas will appeal to the other candidates. They don't have them in mind about the other houses, said Angie, reading what she had on another of her sheets of paper. My sister had told me about a story. In her second year, a president took up a collection for the Laboratory of Alchemy. The laboratory was built 5 years after she had graduated. They were never able to use it. They believe that everything was a fallacy. Said John Paul, that is an important point. We must be very ingenious with the proposals, that people believe us that we are going to do all that, even if it is false. Said Angie. When will you take the letter to the director? Asked Roger. Tomorrow. Gavin, please, come with me tomorrow. And bring cookies if you have to wait for the principal to see us in her office, said Angie. Count on it. I'll take some chocolate chip and vanilla cream cookies from the common room cupboard and put them in the backpack. concluded Gavin. The next morning, first thing in the morning, Angie and Gavin went to the principal's office, near the hallway where the school counselor's office, the teacher's lounge, the nurse's office, and the parent meeting room were located. Family. Upon arriving at the place, the assistant director, Miriam Gamberts, attended them. "Good morning, guys. What do you have for yourself?" said Miriam. "Good morning, miss. I have come to submit the application for our house's candidacy for the student elections, and in addition, I want to ask the director Silvana something," asked Angie. "Okay, wait a moment. You see, only one student can enter the principal's office. It is you, Miss Anne, who must enter. Mr. Fowler, I am afraid that you will have to wait in that chair," said Miriam as she got up from her desk, pointing to Gavin the chair location. "Okay, no problem. I'll wait here," Gavin said as he put his hands in his pockets and sat down on the couch. "Are you sure you can do it on your own?" Gavin whispered to Angie. "Yes, don't worry, it will be fine. Wait here, and tie your shoelaces while you wait on the couch. Otherwise you'll fall when we get out of here," Angie murmured. "May luck be with you," Gavin said. Minutes passed, and Miss Miriam told Angie that she could enter the director's office. Angie crossed a huge door with a stained glass window, and upon reaching the office, it was a spacious place. There were ornamental plants, a room of gold trophies and silver plaques, which represented the trophies won by students in alchemy, duel, literature and history. Mapping. Students graduated with important recognitions in alchemy, literature, law, footblaze and others. Brown vinyl armchairs. The director's desk was made of mahogany with a huge school emblem carved into its varnished wood, and at the same time at the bottom of this, his main chair, and behind it, an altar with statues. The walls were decorated by the emblems of the houses and their flags. In addition, the adjacent wall had photographs of all the generations graduated from the house, year with year, and on the other wall, in front of the cabinet with the trophies, were portraits of all the directors and heads of the houses through the years. Angie continued walking, looking around until she reached the principal's desk, when she suddenly said, "Good morning, Miss Anne. What brings you here?" "To what do I owe the honor of her visit?" answered the director Silvana as she appeared through a door behind the portraits of the directors and heads of the houses of yesteryear. "Good morning, Director Silvana. I feel fine," Angie responded. "How has the school treated you these 2 years?" asked the director. "Wonderful. I confess." "Excuse me, Director," said Angie apologetically. Don't worry, it's hard to get used to. But for you I will always be your teacher. I still haven't gotten used to my new role. You can call me whatever you like," said the director expressing a smile. "I have come to make a request," said Angie as she put some papers on the office desk. "Continue. Is it perhaps due to your new colleagues, who have been absent to classes these weeks?" "Tony, Naomi, right?" Silvana asked. "No, it's not about that. It's something more formal," Angie said, shaking her head. I see. Well, regarding those 2 boys, I hope it's not about another of theirs plans, as happened a few years ago," said Silvana, raising her eyebrows. "Not at all. I don't even know them. Besides, we have learned many lessons these years, in the dungeons, in our house arrest. My friends don't know them either," Angie said. Sitting in the office chair, the director got up and walked towards a huge wooden closet. "Would you like a drink? Coffee? Tomato juice? Orange juice? Water? Came? Cidra?" asked the director as she opened the closet door and pointed to a group of bottles with drinks in it. "No, I'm fine like this," said Angie, denying Silvana's invitation for fear that the drink had something in it. "Well, enough of the rambling. Tell me, what is the reason for your visit this morning?" Silvana asked as she sat at her desk and poured some tomato juice into her glass cup. I was very surprised that you took the position of director. I thought that perhaps the position was going to go to some other teacher, and I remember certain requirements that you mentioned on the day of the funeral. I wondered, how did you get the position? Asked Angie. Well, you see, a few years ago I left school and went to prepare myself academically on a trip to a distant land, called Vicariarbao. I didn't become a nun at all. That wasn't my intention. I went for a request of the director you requested. I acquired certain knowledge. The director had told me before she died that she saw qualities in me to take the position in the future, and for me, there is nothing more important than transmitting wisdom, discipline and helping the young people who always get into trouble, like you of course, and well, those of the Teachers' Council, along with the other members that I mentioned the other day, decided to vote for me. Are you interested in someday being a principal, Miss Anne? The director asked, blinking. I was just wondering why you. According to what I read in the Pizcet Times newspaper, you were offered the position in the education department, and you turned it down. Angie said while crossing her arms. Well, yes. But that position never attracted me, although I don't completely rule it out. I could take it simultaneously with this one. For now, Miss Gabriel is the one for it. I owe myself to this ship, said the director, also crossing her arms. Well, that was a doubt I had. Now, I have come to give you the ballot of candidates for our house, for the student elections, and to make the request that the elections can be held in the month of June, said Angie, taking out a letter from his pocket where he slid the candidate's paper across the wood of the office desk. I figured you would come to talk about that. I'm afraid, Miss Anne, those activities are likely to be cancelled under my tutelage, said Silvana, putting her fingertips together and shaking her head and her veil. Why? What is the reason? They can't cancel student suffrage, it's a right, Angie exclaimed. I'm sorry, Miss Anne, but that kind of thing only creates disorder, and it goes against discipline. It's one of the things I learned in my trip that I told you about. These activities in teaching places like the Rhoda School in other lands do not even exist, so why not replicate it here? We must copy the good, said the director, smiling. But, teacher, for your information, we have excellent ideas for the growth of the students. I have come to ask you to allow us to vote. I suppose you know all the good things that different members of the house have done individually. There are very intelligent people with excellent abilities here. I am sure that no other house will ever have the ideas that we have. Angie insisted. Yes, of course I have seen. The director you requested mentioned it to us, but Angie, I would regret if most of those things were not true. I still have very much in mind the rumors and realities of the adventures of you and your friends. Don't forget them, said the director as she brought her head closer and looked in front of Angie's eyes. Do you think there are better candidates? What about us? Angie asked abruptly. The House of the Scarlet Eagles has always provided excellent ideas for the school since its creation. Its delegates, its Fudblaze team, its students are exceptional, Silvana said, laughing like an automaton. Trust us, return the vote to this school, and our house will put the talent, intelligence, capacity and new ideas at your disposal. We are at your command. For the good of the student community, said Angie. And what will happen to your friends? Said Silvana as she opened Angie's letter and read the contents. I don't see them here. If I remember correctly, these names that you give me here were also sanctioned by the first sin. The candidates are other people. Are you lying to me, Miss Anne? Silvana asked with an annoyed expression. Not at all. My friends will manage without being on the ballot. The ones you see there are better prepared people and with better ideas, said Angie. And what will they do? What kind of role will they have? If I go to the cafeteria right now and talk to Fowler, Black, Monroe, Banner, Barry, Green, the other girls, the Baldwin girl or that Mott boy, who silently plays games of chance in the cafeteria and in the forest green, ripping off the rods of the other students. I'm surprised they aren't here. They are well-known people, good faces to be candidates. Are these candidates the puppets of their group? Silvana said while her eyes flashed red. How omniscient, Professor. You're wrong, said Angie, lowering her gaze. Your house is full of faithful friends. It is the house where true friends are made. What I want to get at with this, well, they should be your close friends. That should be in this document. But there are other people, with all due respect, you can see it in your pupils, your nostrils flared, those are always signs of fallacy in a person. Young Fowler, a faithful friend. I accompany you this tomorrow, and both missing an important literature class. Is that the example you want to give to the school if you become president? The examples of lying and manipulation? The examples of missing classes? Said Silvana as she put her hands together again. Angie remained silent as she lowered her head, her curly hair covered her eyes a little with her bangs. While Principal Silvana finished her drink of tomato juice, the glass remained empty. He sat up straight in his seat while joining his fingertips in a thoughtful gesture. Now let's talk frankly. Miss Anne, why have you come to me to request those requests full of fallacies? We both know that you have something in mind, and the director you requested is not there. She always tried to defend you. But I always warned her about your intentions. I have seen further. I always see in the minds of young people what they think. We both know that you are lying. I read it and I see in your mind. Ask the director. Angie raised her head, but she did not want to look directly into the eyes of the director. As she looked around the room, lies? Of course not. We always communicate with the truth, Angie responded. Right now you represent your house. What are they looking for? Why don't they ask for it openly at once? Why didn't you run for president? You are intelligent, a leader, you have good ideas, academic excellence, fame. You have proven it these 2 years, an excellent candidate, a possible delegate. I insist, because the people with leadership of your house are not on this ballot. It seems very curious to me that they write down other people in this. And not those who really have new and fresh ideas, as you say. Silvana responded as she tapped the sheet of paper with her finger. Well, if you don't want to give us the opportunity, and you really want to eliminate suffrage, she said, resigned Angie. Of course I don't want to, and I'm sure you weren't waiting for me to agree. I'm sure you also thought that these elections would one day end my mandate or that of another person with the same ideals. But, despite everything, you and Mr. Fowler have come here and asked me. You have courage. However, I have thought that this has some other purpose. Or am I wrong? The director asked again, arching her eyebrows. I don't have nothing more to say, said Angie again, crossing her arms in denial. Neither do I, Miss Anne. Go now, go to class, and by the way, this afternoon I will pass on the correspondence about the new directive on the elimination of student elections. I'm sorry. May you return empty-handed to the living room of your house, said the director. Angie got up from the chair and looked straight at Silvana, where she took Angie's letter and cut it into 1,000 pieces. I think this is no longer useful to us. But hey, give this message to your colleagues, the Fudblesse. It will continue standing. I love games. Silvana concluded as she got up from her writing and re-entered through the door after the portraits. At that, Angie knew that she had made a mistake in coming to make the request for the election date and talking about it. Angie had the feeling that the director Silvana had read her mind. It is as if she knew everything plan they had, which seemed strange to her, as she walked towards the door with the stained glass, a little moody and angry at the director's decision. It caught her attention that one of the plaques in the trophy room was shining, like a glow. Angie approached it, opened the glass door that had the trophy cabinet and touched the plaque. When she touched it, the entire room was transformed into a white glow. Angie felt like she was falling into the void, when suddenly, he arrived at a place like a room with stained glass windows of different colors. The floor was made of glass. It was also like a stained glass window. It had the colors of the schoolhouses. When suddenly a voice said the following: "Welcome, heroine of the prophecy of the last generation." What? Who said that? Angie asked. Don't worry, heroine, you have come to the right place. We have finally been able to communicate with one of you, the voice responded with an echo. Angie looked around her, when suddenly, on a white circle, a human silhouette appeared. It was a female silhouette, a girl in a completely white dress. Angie looked at her and asked, "Who are you and where am I?" "Welcome to the chamber of the celestial sages, heirs of the first conquering heroes of the prophecy. My name is Diana Berliving, chief of the 12 sages," she said. The person in front of her, the 12 sages? Angie asked. That's right, young archer, the finger of the spirit has selected you and your closest ally. Suddenly, a drop fell from the sky, which turned into a white light, and from it, Gavin was transported to the chamber of the celestial sages along with Angie. Welcome, young master of scholarship, to the chamber of the spiritual sages. I am Diana Berliving, said Diana. Angie? And what are we doing here? A white glow appeared in front of me while I was waiting for you in the director's office. Gavin asked strangely and looking around the place. As I was saying to the young archer, you have been selected by the finger of the spirit to receive our news and messages from the 12 sages about the struggle of prophecy, said Diana. Who are the 12 sages? Asked Angie. Well, you know some of them. They have been fundamental pieces in their fight, said Diana. While in the sky more glowing drops appeared that fell on glass platforms of different colors. There were platforms blue, green, red, yellow, silver, crystal, purple, orange, black, white, pink and brown. When the drops fell, they also began to form human silhouettes and other shapes. Perhaps they are familiar with them, Diana replied. And the silhouettes began to show like a hologram and visualization of certain well-known personalities. They cannot speak, but they can listen and make gestures with their eyes and smile. There was, on the first yellow platform, Kathleen, the princess of Asturias. It's Kathleen, the princess. But why doesn't she listen to me? He said as he approached her hologram. It's as if he put her hand in it and her hand passed through her image. There is only her soul left. She has already fulfilled her mission before you. She is now safe and rests in the eternal life of this chamber. Diana explained. So does that confirm that Alice did indeed destroy the castle 3 years ago? Asked Gavin. That's right. Her mission was to provide them with information regarding the orbs. She was the sage of the yellow orb. Unfortunately, the orbs were desecrated 5 years ago by a vassal of the witch. The orbs had impressive power, but your desecration almost ended the world. Luckily for you, you managed to stop it in time. I thank you, said Diana. What about the others? Asked Angie. Well, on the next platform, silver color, you will see Vicar Isa of the orphanage and her doll. She gave them the celestial deity of Serena. That was her mission. Now she has returned to the Chamber of the Wise. Thanks to her trip to that place, they destroyed the other vassal from the witch. And they managed to recover the silver orb at that time, said Diana while pointing to the right. It means that each of the sages have given us information about the prophecy. And in addition to that, weapons to fight against her? Angie asked. You are correct, young archer, Diana answered. But why haven't they given us more accurate information? It would be nice if they told us who the witch is once and for all. That way we would save time. Gavin said. I understand your point, but the witch is powerful, more than last time. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a spell that we cannot pronounce his name. his location, his reincarnation and identity. Said Diana, I see, that is why none of these wise men has told us. And their information has been as if in parables or indirectly to be able to decipher the puzzle. She exclaimed. Gavin, is there a way to break the spell? Angie asked. That's right. Find the missing sages, free them, and only one of them, one of the most insightful and cunning of the group, will tell you the clue. At the end of their search, they must seek, know and receive help, thus their mission will be fulfilled, so that they can return to the chamber of the sages, and thus, when this chamber completes the 12 sages, the spell on me will be completely broken. And all the power that it confers from me and the other sages will be with you in the final battle, brave heroes. Diana explained, now I understand. They were people who helped us, and after the first sin, they never wanted to betray us with the authorities, like Percy in the park, for example. He's a sage, right? He gave us information about the summon of Selassie, said Gavin. You are right. I want you to know the following, one of our sages with his insight and cunning will tell you the final clue. But also another of them, with his big heart and feeling, will tell you the way about a missing piece in your brotherhood. Said Diana. How and where did we find them? Asked Angie. Well, Kathleen from Astoria's is already with us. She was the first, my person, that thanks to you who saw that glow in the trophy room. I have been looking for them in different ways, making appearances and clues, but I had not been able to find any, until you, young archer, who had curiosity and courage, you have been able to free me, show me and serve you. Continuing with this chamber, also, the vicar Isa and the doll for obtaining the silver orb and the deity of healing as I said, Yed the native for obtaining the white orb, the 3 twins crystal. Bieberly and Wendy, with the help of the message in the rune to obtain 2 orbs, blue and green. The owl and the fox of the home oak forest to obtain the deity of the 3 fairy sisters and the final orb, the orange one. The visit to the Sinterklaas home to obtain the deity of ice, and finally, the conversation they had with Percy and his help in finding the deity of the king of the jungle. Diana argued, and when she was telling this, all these people she mentioned were appearing on their respective platforms in the chamber of the sages, but some platforms remained empty. What about the empty platforms? Who are they? Angie asked when she turned to look at the other platforms. I will tell you the following locations. Not exact, but in riddles. I regret not being able to tell you with certainty. Even with few sages released, my power is weak, and the witch's spell still does not allow me to express certain things. Although, I will tell you, be cautious and be prepared. Difficult times are approaching. Unite and free all the wise ones. Only then will the power in you be complete and you will be able to replicate what your predecessors once did. Said Diana. Where do we begin? Asked Gavin. 2 of his allies visited the past, obtaining the deity of darkness, but the wise Ewans was never freed. Replied Diana. 2 of the allies. What? The past of the deity of darkness? I don't understand. Said Angie, tilting her head. She means Black and Alvard. When we met them in the 4th year, Alvard invoked Boran, deity of darkness. But she says that they never released the sage who was supposed to give them the message, so it's still in that place. Gavin said, looking at Angie. And what is the place? Angie asked. We should go to the temple of the painted world of dreams of Euphrates and visit the portraits. They know where he is. Gavin commented. You're right, they must travel to the past. That's the riddle and free the wise Ewans. Diana said. Where do we find the others? Angie asked. The second riddle is fire. They must save the twin of the wise Yed. Only then his liberation will be completed. A sign that I can tell you is a natural phenomenon next year. Diana said. There would only be 2 left. Said Angie, counting with the fingers of her hands. Third riddle. Travel to the coast, and free the wise man. And finally, Fourth riddle. You must go to the world where the sick are cured, the crazy scream, where they hear the cry of death, and where blood plays an important role in life and death. There they will release the sage of healing and receive his help, Diana added. Are they all? Gavin asked. Yes. Lastly, as a final piece of advice, 2 of your allies that you don't know yet are in trouble. Diana said. 2? But they are safe. Angie said strangely. Are you talking about the boys who were assigned this year to our house? Gavin asked. That's right, they should look for them. The fact that they wander alone in search of the prophecy is very risky. Look on the coast and in the world of fun. There you will also find a powerful weapon, said Diana. Gavin. It will be better to discuss these riddles at the ranch, so that together we can decipher this more easily, said Angie. Yes, Diana. Now that you mention those 2 boys, do you know anything about our ally Marycross? We are also looking for her. Gavin asked. That's what I meant with the missing piece of her brotherhood. I assure you that she is fine, out of danger, on her mission to seek the liberation of the sages. It is likely that they find her whereabouts and recover her friend. The power of the Princess of Asturias confirms it to me, said Diana. Excellent to hear that, said Gavin and Angie. Please do everything I told you, young archer. I beg you to carry out my request. Before I leave, I ask you to keep your group together. Be careful, the atmosphere of betrayal surrounds you. Damn. I wish you luck in this battle that is about to begin in a few months. May luck be with you, said Diana. We will do it, they both shouted. When wise Diana finished her words, a white glow fell on Gavin and Angie, transporting them back to the director's office. Once there, they left and went to the living room of the house to tell their friends what they had seen, and that at the ranch that afternoon they would give them the rest of the details. The afternoon of that day fell. It was beginning to rain a little that March afternoon. In the meeting room, Gavin and Angie explained to the rest about the riddles of the sages, their identity, their powers over the orbs, their link with the celestial deities, the Chamber of Sages, plus they were to free the remaining sages. Gavin first asked Black and Alvord about how they had obtained boron in the Temple of the Painted World of Dreams, Euphrates, where Alvord mentioned that they had found the exact location in a book, and explained that the temple was a kind of corridors with paintings and portraits, where through them you could enter different dimensions. They accessed a painting by Boron, where they only gave the offering. They fought against him, but they never saw the wise Ewans in that place. So Black mentioned that they should return to the place later, but before that, find out about Ewans and have more accurate information. Daniel, Alessio, Roger and Bastian after that asked about the student elections. Well, that is very important information, but weren't you going to deliver the ballot with the candidates to the director's office? Black asked, raising his eyebrows and with a confused expression. Well, about that, the director Silvana will eliminate the student elections, without exception. She told me that she will give the statement soon. But that is no longer important. The information from the wise men is even more valuable. If we do what they said, we will find the location of the witch and we will go after her, said Angie. How do you think the entire school community will take it? Asked Roger. We don't know. We just have to wait. The truth is I'm not interested, said Angie. Well, it's a shame. That means I won't be the director for a day, said Bastian sarcastically. Shut up, said Angie, slapping Bastian's shoulder hard. The wise men knew information about Marycross? Alessio asked. Yes, Diana told us that she is alive. Fortunately she is not possessed, nor was she sent to any dimension. She told us that in our search for the riddles it is possible that we find her, Angie, and I believe that she would be imprisoned in a witch's spell on a place or someone, said Gavin. How is that possible? Asked Black, and Angie added, Angelica and Pri, You told me that these types of disappearances like the one in Marycross are like a prison. It could be that they turn you into a miniature, like you in 5th year, and they will lock you in a ball of crystal. They will give you a sleeping pill and you will not wake up until you eliminate the person who cast the spell, or you are possessed to be someone's vassal or apprentice. After this, Angie and Gavin also discussed the location of the 2 members of the house who did not appear on the day of the assignment and opening ceremony, and began to make teams with the members of the ranch who were not specialists in duels and weapons, but with great reading and research skills, and they were assigned the tasks of the puzzles. Starting with the group of Albert, Arthur, Danny, Sebastian, Gustav, Yasser, Eric, Mei Lin, Mott, John Paul and Alex, were assigned the Fun World riddle. Then the group of Mariana, Leanne, Maleth, Natasha, Leonard, Richie, Mayera, Joel and Paula, were assigned the Coast riddle. Fergie, Esther, Aura, Kim, Lester, Indira, Meal, Rachel, Pali. Gabby and the twins Rubian and Patty were assigned the riddle of the world of cure and crying, to Beatrice, Sophia, Sylvia, Ken. The groups of the triplets Carolyn and Danielle the Ewan's riddle in the Temple of Euphrates, and finally the group of Nana, Elisa, Carly, Aaron, Rasmus, Hector, Oscar, Darius, Teffa, Saul, Samantha, Josh, Megan, Gloria, Nick were assigned the fire riddle. Angie concluded by telling them that they would take about 3 to 4 weeks to research the riddles, consulting books from the library and asking certain trusted people about these places, and that when any group had an exact answer in their hands, or the riddle deciphered, they will immediately report to send a group of allies on that search.